congratulations on this. It's
Thank you.
absolutely fantastic. The loving story is really heartbreaking, and I wanted to know for you on a personal level why it touched you so much.
Well, at the beginning, I was looking at two people who represented love. They represented it in a very true way, in an honest way. The act of Richard and Mildred getting married was not an act of defiance. This was an act of love. And what's important about that is that when we're dealing with issues of race and marriage equality and all of these very complex, very divisive issues, it's very easy to just go to your corner, pick up your platform thinking, and start arguing. But when you look at people at the center of them, especially people like this, that I think have such kind of honest intentions, it's really hard to not identify with them. And I immediately identified with them.
Yeah. Joel, who of course you've worked with before, so you know him backwards and forwards pretty
Yep.
much,
Yep.
is honestly, he just keeps raising the bar. He's so good in this. And as is Ruth. Why the two of them? What did you see in both of them that you knew that they were going to be able to do these roles?
Well, oddly enough, I kind of cast them separate of one another. They were both cast by the time I first put them together. It's not like we did screen tests to find chemistry or anything like that. But you get a sense of people when you do this job. And I met Ruth. Ruth was probably the easiest casting decision I've made in my life, because she just showed up and did it in front of me. And anytime we were talking to financiers or anything else, and they were like, "Well, who's Ruth Negga?" and we would just show them this QuickTime video of her audition, and then everyone would say, "Well, of course, yes, that's Mildred." So that was very plain. With Joel, I had been working with him on Midnight Special, and I saw his ability to absorb accent and to absorb voice. And I knew we had so many resources in terms of audio and visual examples of the real Richard Loving. I just knew he'd be able to absorb it, And if you close one eye and think about him losing weight and dyeing his hair and having bad teeth, you get there pretty quickly. And there's just a humanity to both of those people that's pretty undeniable. If you go speak to Ruth and Joel, they're just likable people.
Oh, they're just great people. There's no question about it. What I think bothers me the most is that this was only just over 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Unfreaking believable. That's all I have to say.
Well, what bothers me the most is that we're still dealing with all of these concepts. It's amazing that equality is not something you just achieve. It's not a box you check off and then you're done. It's this thing that we're constantly having to reevaluate, redefine, and constantly strive for. And we're doing it today just as much as they were doing it back then, I think.
Yeah. And I love the way that you directed this, Jeff, because it was just so... To me, it was, it was done in a simple way, but this is the way that they were. I mean, they weren't even a part of the whole courtroom thing, and they just wanted to be married. They just loved each other and wanted to have a family, and it's so heartbreaking. But the way that you portrayed it, you just did it how I got the feel that we were watching the real people there.
Well, the ultimate goal was that I wanted it to represent the essence of who these people were. I can't tell you every line. I have a verifiable example of where that came from in history, but I had an idea of who these people were just from watching this footage and seeing these photographs. I felt like I knew who they were, and I didn't want to betray that, and that's where this style came from. Fortunately, it suited my style as a filmmaker. I knew how to do that.
Yeah. What are solutions? What can we do to make people tolerant?
I think we just have to look at the people at the center of all these conversations. It's just so easy to separate ourselves into categories. It's one of our failings, I think, as humans, is we divide ourselves. We put ourselves into groups. We do this, and we have to overcome that part of our nature. And the way to do that is to look at people, really look at them, and try and put people at the center of these conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. You did a wonderful job. Thank you. Thank you for
Thanks
all your films. I love your stuff. So great.